Who's ready to transform their food habits? I have a challenge for you and an invitation. Are you tired of the endless diet cycle, feeling guilty after every meal, constantly battling your cravings? Imagine if you could transform your entire relationship with food in just 7 days, moving beyond restrictions and just truly enjoying every bite. This challenge isn't about what you can't eat. It's about rediscovering the joy of eating and understanding your body's wisdom for lasting well-being. We're going to embark on a 7-day mindful eating challenge, and I'm going to guide participants, including myself, all the way through this challenge so we can truly savor every bite of our food and understand our body's signals when we have cravings. We're going to explore practical techniques for conscious consumption. And we're going to move beyond any restrictive diets and cultivate a healthier, more intuitive relationship with food. Ultimately, what we want to do is foster lasting well-being and, of course, mindful aging. If you don't know me, my name's Tiffany. I am the founder of Anderson Therapeutics, and this is my Aging Well channel. Thank you for being here. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've returned, welcome back. What I want to talk to you about today is, first of all, conscious consumption. All throughout this challenge, ideas I'm going to introduce you to are from a book that I've shared here on the channel before, and it is called Constant Craving A-Z. This is by Dr. Doreen Virtue. If you don't have a copy of this, I encourage you to get one. This lovely little flip-through guide is have all of these great foodie tips in here, plus give you some really interesting insights on your emotional connections, probable meanings with any of those cravings that are well beyond hunger, and then how to better affirm, acknowledge, because this isn't, as I said, anything about restrictive diets. We don't want to look at anything as a forbidden fruit. This is about honoring our body. You know, something that I have thought about often is that because I live in the city of Salt, I was raised in Salt Lake City. I've never lived outside of this city, and salt has played a theme in my life. And I often crave salty foods. And don't get me wrong, I have a sweet tooth as well. And I was thinking recently on the cravings of my mother, my grandmothers. I think about that ancestral wisdom. And often these are the things that we are role modeled then as, as parents, and also what we learned as children. And I thought about how some of those cravings that I saw that my mother experienced, some I share, others I don't, and I've reflected on that in how I learned to have a relationship with food. Have you ever thought of that? So whether you are an older adult like myself, or much younger, much older, regardless, what is your relationship with food? And how did that start? Is it different now than 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And where do you want your relationship with food to go? When I talk about the conscious consumption, we're talking about mindful eating and being very aware of our choices. And that can be very complex, or you can keep it really simple, such as making your grocery list, looking at your pantry and What do you have on hand? What do you still need to purchase? What foods are you going to be making for the week? That's where it can be easy. Oftentimes, cravings, that takes us into a complexity that is much deeper. I had a craving last night, and it was for pretzels. Part of it was because that's what I had on hand. I was feeling a little bit lazy, and I had already made dinner, I'd already done the dishes. It was just that late night wanting to crunch, you know? It was that one. I decided to look that one up. And in the book here, then I just flipped to Food Craved, and here we have, they're soft and crunchy. The probable meaning, according to Dr. Virtue, is that crunchy pretzels, my emotion, perhaps. Frustration that your goals seem to be thwarted by outside circumstances. And as I read that today, I looked at this earlier, I wholeheartedly agreed, because it is February 3rd. I didn't meet some January goals for the monthly report that I am due to submit soon to my supervisor, and that has caused a lot of frustration last week as I was finishing the month, and this week as I am completing my tasks and moving forward. The crunch, the salty, that I thought was interesting. Now, do I feel guilty about eating the pretzels last night? No, I do not. I enjoyed them. They were satisfying, and I find it interesting to reflect. Now, as we think about mindful eating, that's where we can practice a technique called pause and ask. That's where this book can come in handy. Now, if you're unable to get the book, it was about to fall off my lap, don't have access to a library nearby, inconvenient, whatever the case may be, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to have a free PDF in the description below, and it's a gentle guide to emotional eating that will give you insights, tips, feedback, and references as you think about pausing when you have a craving, and then take a moment to ask, to acknowledge. No shame, no guilt. It's about acknowledging the fact that your body is calling for something. Now, this can be something as simple as, you're driving on the way home and you capture there's a smell of barbecue, or you're thinking in your mind of pizza, or there's a list of groceries in your mind and you remember, oh, I have this in the cupboard. That sounds really good for dinner tonight. That's mindfulness. That is how we are honoring, we're recognizing. And if you're the cook in the house, if you are the one that is in charge of buying the food, preparing the food, cleaning the food, putting the food on the table, food is in our minds often, and the media does sometimes a disservice for the fact that we get inundated with messages about food constantly. That's where I love the title of this book, this constant cravings, where oftentimes I feel it can be exhausting, the amount of energy that we're putting towards food. With that, also honoring the fact that food is beautiful, it's nourishing, it's healing, it's delicious, and it's something that we need. That's where mindfulness honors and respects, and we address any of those emotional cravings and simply just pause. That message alone can give you a little bit of respect and acknowledgement that Our body isn't the problem. Our emotions aren't the problem. How we respond, how we react, the choices that we make. This is time to honor, to feel empowered, and to learn. That's where this mindful eating challenge is going to take us. We're simply honoring, pausing. Now, you might want to use a journal. I like to write things down. I also like to reflect, and the fact that I'm aging solo and I'm the only one cooking in the house and I'm the only one eating in the house, it's a little bit easier for me right now in my stage of life. Whatever works for you. Perhaps you want to have a food journal, note things down, or talk to a friend, having that confirmation, affirmation, just chatting with someone and expressing what this food might mean to you. That's an idea. The pause and the ask technique, just to take an extra moment. Whether you're eating the food or not, you're pausing, acknowledging, being more mindful. Like this apple here. I cleaned this and I had this ready for my afternoon snack. I got distracted, called into a meeting. I haven't gotten to enjoy my apple yet. I'm looking forward to eating this apple. It's nourishing, it's crunchy. Is it going to be all of the food that I'm eating? Certainly not. I haven't even decided yet which of the meals on my menu plan that I'm making for dinner tonight. There's one idea for you. And again, that free PDF will be below as we move forward into this challenge. Another thing that I want to leave you with, and a takeaway, I'm going to read you one more craving just in case it's something that resonates with you and gives you an idea about probable meanings and looking at those emotional cravings. And there's a lot of great guides out there. I'm sure you could Google something, and if you like to talk to AI, ChatGPT might have some ideas for you as well as far as any emotions behind a certain craving. Mindful snacking. Now, are you a grazer, or are you pretty regimented and you have your 3 square meals, or perhaps you're intermittent fasting and can go a long period and then choose to just have 1 or 2 larger meals? Whatever the case may be, you know your body better than anyone. Mindful snacking is, again, preparing, taking the time. Do you make your lunch? Do you have a plan in mind for eating? That often becomes a hiccup, because if you're not, and eating is more random, or perhaps you are not the cook and someone else is in charge of your diet, that brings in a whole other level of how we approach food, how you think about food, especially if it's not your role. And perhaps that might be the conversation to have. And if you are thinking about having sustained energy throughout the day, staying well hydrated, and being very aware of what your body needs to function properly, that's something to also consider with food, because digestion takes a lot of energy. So that's the aftermath of when we eat, to know that digestion is over here, another function. The eating, the nourishing, the craving, all of that stuff, that's on a whole other level. There's our emotions, there's the physical craving, there's the need, there's the are we thirsty, are we hungry? There's so many aspects to that. That's where I encourage, as a patient advocate, as a wellness coach, as a health educator, that having a plan, having a menu can solve a lot of problems, if there is a problem. And in addressing any emotional cravings, I had out I have an avocado that's very ripe, and I'm still thinking about whether I want to make guacamole tonight. So I thought I would read one more craving for you, because it sounds really good right now. I don't know that it's an emotional one, though, since I'm having the craving, and I know cravings are very complex. I will say that yes, that's part of it. There probably is some emotion behind that, because I get the hankering. I am very drawn to guacamole. And the probable meaning, oh, okay, now I just barely flipped this up. This was very impromptu. The food craved, avocado, first column. Second column, probable meaning, fed up, wanting to replace high stress situation with something that better suits you. Now, given the fact that I had just shared that I didn't meet my goals, I had one of the lowest percentage on my monthly report, that there's a whole data aspect of my corporate gig that I didn't meet my goals. So yeah, there, okay, fed up. So, okay, now here's my affirmation, because see, I haven't even made the guacamole yet. The avocado remains off to the side, might go back in the fridge, I don't know. My affirmation: I have decided to seek a better life and am rewarded with answers and direction. I'm thinking on that because I'm not quite sure if that affirmation is giving me the feedback that I'm looking for. That's where we honor our differences. We honor what resonates. And in the pause and the ask, it doesn't need to be long and drawn out. Our relationships with food can be overly complicated and also overindulgent. That's where mindfulness, the honoring and respecting any cravings that we have, and how we want to nourish our body, that is part of this challenge, and one that I hope that you will take with me. I would love to hear your comments and share if there is a food that is one that you crave often, and you recognize it as an emotional craving, one that might wake you up at night, or something that has called to you and you know that you're full, you know that you're not hungry. Those are the cravings where a further affirmation and having that pause and looking at, is there another way? Is there another way that I can address the probable meaning, which did resonate heavily? Wanting to replace a high stress situation. Yes, I'm going to be finishing that monthly report, recognizing where things went wrong, and I will do my best to improve that February's numbers will be much better. It's one of the lowest months I had ever had, so I've already had a talk with my supervisor. There. See how my voice even raised on there. There you go. What I want to leave you with again, there are no forbidden fruits. This mindful eating challenge, I'm going to be participating right along with you, starting now. It's the first week of February, whenever you're starting this. The subsequent videos, we're going to do day 1 tomorrow. This is the diving in. This is the introduction to this, giving you a little bit of feedback on the book. And how about I just give you one more that's about sweets. I've already talked about a couple of salty. Let's talk about sweets. Chocolate is one that is very common, men and women. So let's just talk about chocolate in general. I've talked about that in another video. And the probable meaning, you may have guessed already, the emotion behind that is a desire to be filled with the feeling of love. Now, I often have cravings for chocolate that has some type of a texture. Let's talk about, if you crave chocolate-covered nuts. Do you like that texture, that added crunch with the smooth, wonderful darkness, that taste that is like no other chocolate? Now that, the affirmation for chocolate-covered nuts, I have the right to plan my life and take charge of fulfilling my needs. I love that one because it's empowering, because it's about honoring ourselves and recognizing what we need, what our body is calling for, what our emotions are calling for. And as we move forth in this mindfulness challenge, then let's honor those messages and simply better understand them. Because even with that, we are recognizing and saying, oh, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And by role modeling that, think about the conversations you could have with your family, with your children, with your parents, with your coworkers, even at a dinner party. Because we don't want to shame ourselves. We don't want to guilt trip ourselves. We get enough of that all over the place. Let's be mindful and lift one another up. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. If you've made it this far, check in the description below, snag that free PDF, get the book if you can, and check back tomorrow. Have a good evening. And I'll let you know if I ate the guacamole.